talks. Okay, another question? Anybody want to correct me like Tom did? Just your luck that of my 5 pest management talks, everybody wants to get the hell out of Dodge. And this is the one that has 49 slides out of it. It's the longest one of these pest management talks. But remember, you got to get pesticide credits. You got to spend here the whole time. We cannot leave early. So my talk, control insects and mites on blueberries. You might think that this is going to be like the raspberry mite talk, but there's only one, I think only.
I'm at the thing, right?
Okay.
Gotta let those folks at home see this. There we go. All right. Come on. Thank you.
There's only one slide in common with my raspberry mite talk. So, so historically, mites have not been a pest of blueberries. Prior to 2017, mites and blueberries were never in the same sentence in Washington. You look in the Pacific Northwest Handbook, still it's not in there. And you look at most descriptions of pests and around this area, and you will not see anything about mites and blueberries. 6 years ago, it's actually now 7 years ago, 2-spot spider mite became a recognized pest in Georgia. And when they started looking, then they had broadberry, blueberry bud mite and southern red mite. And these two mites were more damaging than 2-spot spider mite. And mites is the primary arthropod pest in blueberries. They have more trouble controlling mites than they do spotted wing Drosophila. And then in 2017, the Raspberry Industry Service Award winner this year, Steve Midbow, sent me a picture on my phone of mites on blueberries. I just could not believe it. It was from here. In the following year, in 2018, they had really serious problems with mites. I did a disaster tour. I came up for a disaster tour for the heat dome. I had a disaster tour for the floods. I did a disaster tour this year about this problem that's on Calypso and Liberty. And in 2018, I did this disaster tour of mites, and it was easy to find. And it's classic mites. You find them at the end of roads or next to roads, because that's where the dust is. I used this phrase in the last talk about in the eastern Washington, where mites are even more of a problem. You find them in fields like a potato field that's next to a cornfield, or if it's next to a mint field, if it's next to a hop field, that's a bad field corn, popcorn, sweet corn. Those are what we call mitey. There's a lot of mites on them, and you'll hear. I'll bet the raspberry next to a blueberry in a hot, dry year, you'll find them in the rows of a blueberry next to a dry road, or that's got a raspberry field next to it. This is what the damage on the new growth is, and when you see this is no bueno. This is going to impact your production next year. But anyway, they move from the vegetation between the rows and on weeds to the lower part of the plant, feet, shoots, and leaves, moves out from there. And it's going to affect the crop next year, but on later varieties, we think it could, if it starts early on the late varieties, it could reduce the sizing of the fruit in the current year. So I was going to do what I do, go for an efficacy trial, try a bunch of products. So I did the work. Thank you, Kurt Mayberry Farms. We did this trial. And bear in mind, 2018 was a nightmare mite year. Tom Walters made the applications. He also would collect the leaves. He overnights them to us. We put them through a mite brush and look at them through a microscope. And lo and behold, we had like no mites that year. I have this theory, fund me to do research, and the pest population goes away. If you look at, but I will tell you, if you counted all of them up, the untreated check had the most. What had the least? Well, here's Magister, here's acromite, canamite, danitol, Fujimite. These are all the ones in a almost no mite year. These looked good. 2020, we started a trial again. We shook up the treatment list a little bit, and then we had a lot of mites. In this case, as you go down, the low numbers up here, high numbers here, and it's kind of interesting when you have, what does it mean when you have the least mites in the untreated check? What it means is, oh, this is, no, I didn't have, this is not ranked in order. What this trial, okay, what this one is this shows you that Brigade has significantly more than the untreated check. That's what this slide, okay, untreated check at 295, there's almost triple in the Brigade. Just like I showed in the raspberry data, Brigade flared mites. So if you're using Brigade for spotted wing Drosophila control, you're going to, it is a major risk factor. Now, if you look at danitol, just like in the raspberry data, danitol did not flare mites. So Brigade did, danitol did not. When this is all ranked about what was the best, Oberon, not registered. Then danitol, here's Azadirect and Gargoyle, these are organic. Here's Reaper, this is Agromec. I mean, Reaper, Agromec. And then acromite, Fujimite, canamite, Savvy did not work as well in this trial. In 2022, again, we did not have mites. Nialta, Fujimite, and Gargoyle were the best, but you can't draw too many conclusions because we did not have a good enough population. So if you're looking at blueberries, the ones in yellow is what is registered that have mitocidal activities. Now, there's some interesting things about this one. Okay, Azadirect and Cinerate, they're organic, don't have any data on Cinerate. There's Gargoyle, that had activity. Magister, somehow that one snuck up on me. I don't know how I didn't include Magister, but I don't know if I didn't know about it at the time. This one got registered on blueberries. It's the first, what we call it, considered real good, effective miticide. Registered on blueberries, don't have any data, but we have plenty of data from other crops. Perfectly good miticide. Jeff Nichols swears it's a rescue treatment. I would not want to make that claim, but if you have mites and you're not exporting, Magister is a ticket. Danitol, I hate to say it, but danitol has had mitocidal activity. It didn't flare. This is an odd one. I would have said omite propargite is not registered on blueberries. I did a search. The Washington State University database says it is. I need to confirm this, but we have no data on it. Movento is a moderate miticide at best. The problem with Movento is it has to be applied 2 weeks before you need it. 2 weeks before you have a mite outbreak, you need to apply it. It takes 10 to 14 days for it to be taken up by the plant, and it translocates throughout the plant, and it's a moderate one at best. We have Bexar. Bexar, if you look on the label, you don't see it, but there's a supplemental label. We don't have any data on this one. So that is a potential option. But I'm going to talk about these three. We have abamectin, fenpyroxamate, asaquinacil. These are all relatively new modes of action to us. Abamectin is going to get registered before the growing season. Fujimite and Kanamite are going to be registered within a year. So we have three good miticides that are coming. Now, I don't know, we do not know what the MRLs are on these products. But it wouldn't surprise me if they don't start, some of them may not be great to start with. I'm gonna look to see, okay, yeah. I wanted to point out this one, and I'll come back. This is Magister. This is some residue data that we have. You look at the MRLs over here, the US is 0.8, then we got 0.1, 0.01, 0.0. So the MRLs are unfavorable. So most of the mite problems are on farms that grow for export. So until we'll get the MRLs, but this may not be a great option. So if you're going to control two-spot spider mite on blue, I got to pick up the pace here. I'm going too slow. We know a lot more what we used to do. Pyrethroids, particularly brigade flares mites, Magic are probably the best option. Unfortunately, has MRL issues. Asia Direct, Cinerate, organic options. These three are products that you will be using in the future. We have products that we need to get more data on. I'm going to have a proposal in to finish up this work. Also, as I emphasized in the case of blueberry and raspberries, you got to apply early. Got to move on. Midges, new pest. Look at this. Look at all these people. Alan Schreiber, Tom Walters, Bev Gerdeman, Ben Deal, Lydia Timon. We worked on this for 3 years. First time I went to a field that had midge, I didn't see it. Brett Pell explained to me where the midge was. It's almost like looking through a pair of binoculars out of focus. He told me what to look for. It came into focus and it's like, holy smokes, although I used a different S word than smokes. It was everywhere. And this was just north of here on off Pangborn. Now there's two kinds of midges. Everyone was talking about, oh, we have tip midge. And then so in the literature, some people talk about gall midge. Now, there is not one person in this room, and I got a PhD in entomology. I am really good at taxonomy. I can't tell these apart. They also, you know what a gnat looks like? Well, these are like a small gnat. We've been funded on this for 3 years. Here's some of the questions that we're supposed to answer. I'll give you a clue what it might be. Blueberry gall midge, first identified. This is a relatively new species. We did not know this existed 20 years ago. 2004 is found in Washington. It's very small, very cryptic lifestyle. People think it looks like a boron deficiency. It causes some witching broom. We don't know much about tip midge. We know less about gall midge. 1 to 3 millimeters. I mean, this is smaller than a broken pencil lead. It lays an egg in the growing terminal. The maggot hatches from the egg, burrows in immediately. You have to dissect it out very, very carefully to get the little thing. So this is a very, very magnified picture. This is a maggot right here and dissected out. This is what the damage looks like. Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. Severe problem in Georgia and Florida. Such a big deal in Michigan. They had someone do a whole master's thesis on it. This is from some damage just out here off Pole Road. So someone smarter than me, Lydia Timon, took some of the samples that Ben Deal collected and did a PCR test on it. Whenever you see something like this, you know that's not my slide, not my data. What's interesting about this is, okay, I got to look at this carefully. Okay, so this is a phylogenetic tree, and this is a different species in the genus Dicynura. So this is one species, another species, another species. This is Dicynura oxycocana. This is blueberry gall midge, And This is collected in Linden and it ain't blueberry gall midge. It did not line up with anything. This is something different. Now, there's 6% difference between genetic difference between this one and this one. There's a 1%, less than 1% difference in the DNA from United States to from a human to a chimpanzee. There's a 6% difference between these two groups. So we did that work again, bigger sample. Look what happened here. This is the Dicynera oxycocana. This is one from Japan, from Britain, Canada. This is from Linden, 99.7, 99.4. This is like a 5.5% difference. And then we have this one. And it's not anything that it recognizes. It's something else. So one thing we learned is it's gall midge, not tip midge, but we have something else that's not gall midge. So I don't know what we do with that, but that's something that was interesting. Lionel Tannegoshi and Bev Gerdeman did some trapping. This is damaged terminals. This shows there's probably, here's one generation, 2, 3. There's probably, could be 3 or 4, maybe it's overlapping generations. We did some trapping, and this was 4 different locations. You can see what the population looked like over time. This is end of August, early September is where it was peaking. This is all in the Linden area. This blue is research station. This is Burlington. This is more southern part of Skagit. This is Snohomish. Again, this late August, September was when it peaks. And all of the comments that come to me about this are from Whatcom County, but populations were every place that we looked, and Snohomish was the highest of any place that we'd ever seen. This is probably all over the Western Washington. So we're going to do some efficacy trials. It's never a great deal when every single place that has a known population of gall midge has 0. But what we didn't know is 3 weeks prior to us starting this trial, a grower applied a drench treatment of platinum 3 weeks prior to our application for root weevil. So again, maybe we failed successfully. One of the things that we found out was a root weevil drench with thiamethoxam takes out blueberry gall midge. Now, that's a really good deal. But the thing that we don't know is how long that lasts. There are multiple generations. This thing is peaking in September. Thiamethoxam is not going to be here that long. I mean, a month, I don't know, 60 days. We don't know how long this will last. So again, if you're me, a good research project never ends. Always get an opportunity to submit another proposal. So Tom and I are putting in another proposal to try and collect efficacy data. Things we know is this thing's everywhere. We know it's all season long. We know it's multiple generations. We know it's gall midge. We know there's something out there besides gall midge. May not make a difference. We don't know if it's something else. What we don't know is how best to kill it. And I'm an insect killer, and I want to know how to kill it. Third thing we're going to talk about is organic and conventional controls in spotted wing Drosophila. Controlling SWD is the #1 and #5 research priority for the Washington Blueberry Commission. SWD is a really big problem in organic production. So SWD and mummyberry are production limiting of organic in Western Washington. We have over reliance on entrust. We need to come up with something else than Then in trust, conventional control, there's some issues with conventional control. Initially, the greatest need was in organics. We kind of figured out how to do this, how to collect data on SWD. There are some tricks that there are very few people that are successfully generating data on SWD. I will explain why. But one of the problems that we have is we have plenty of conventional products, but a lot of them have limitations, particularly MRLs, which limit their use. And the ones that do have MRLs tend to be organophosphates, carbamates, pyrethroids, neonics, which will impact secondary insect pests and will flare aphids and flare mites. We have all these problems with viruses coming in. Part of the reason we have a problem with viruses is we got a bunch of new viruses. But another reason is the products that were used for SWD takes out secondary pests, flares aphids. These aphids vector these viruses. So we need to try and find some selective new conventional SWD products. Any of you growers want me to do an SWD trial in your fields? Now, I need to have you have SWD in those fields for me to do the trial. I need to have an untreated check, so I need to foment an SWD infestation in your field. We don't get very many volunteers for this. So the way we do this is I have almost an acre of triple crown blackberries. I sell to farmers markets, among other things. I grew triple crown blackberries, doing the farmers market. I stopped doing it when people say, what are these white things in my blackberries? These SWD love blackberries. Now, this is a picture of my research farm. So my research farm is this section here. This is my office. This is my house. This is the other part of this farm. So this is where I spend all my time here. So this is my little research farm north, well, not little, it's 73 plus 16, was it 89 acres. But if you expand here, here's something interesting. This is my blackberries. These are apples. This is cherry. This is peaches. These are grapes. These are grapes. These are blueberries. I have a half acre of, over here, I have 2 acres inching here. This is an acre of conventional, mostly conventional Duke. This is organic Duke. You can see one's a little greener than the other. This is a half acre of Aurora and a half acre of Draper. We cannot get SWD in blueberries because they all come over to these blackberries. It's amazing how much of like a trap crop these blackberries are. So this is where we do the trials because we have so many SWDs here. So we're in here, we're making an application. I wish someone would come over and teach my people how to train these crops. But we make applications, we pull off fruit. We do this salt dunk test. Here's another thing. We're funded by the Blueberry Commission to generate this data. This data is just applicable, if not more applicable, for raspberries as it is for blueberries. SWD is one of the research priorities in raspberries. I told Henry, you don't need to fund any work. The Blueberry Commission is funding this work with the Commission on Pesticide Registration. We're doing the work on blackberries because it is a perfect test system and it's perfectly applicable to raspberries. So this is a free one for raspberries. And look, man, it works. These are maggots, lots and lots of maggots. Okay, so we've been doing this work for several years. Yada. So we did 29, here's 29 different control programs. Every one of these is applied 6 times. So this is the best, this is the worst. This is over the course of us sampling for 6 weeks, totaling up how much is there. One of the things I want to point out is this is in trust. Here's cinerate. So if it's green, it's organic. If it's yellow, it's conventional. So anything in this range is commercially acceptable. There's a new mode of action coming from this company. We don't say what it is. This is Mustang Max rotated with Spear T, Spear T, Spear T, Spear T. Remember that product. So Mustang Max rotated with Spear T worked very well. Here's gargoyle. This is some extract. This is a plant extract. And in this trial, it did better than in Trust. When I see what's in this product, which is basically squeezing things that go into Italian dressing type things, I can't believe that this works so well. This is another biological. This is this new mode of action. Here's a cell. Here's Entrust rotated with Asia Direct. Mustang, these are all different rates. Here's Cinerate, organic product. Here's Entrust and Trust. So Cinerate is a perfectly good organic option. The catch to Cinerate is it doesn't have residual control. So you're going to have to be on 7-day or less intervals. If you have higher pressure, 5-day intervals. This is work from 2021. This is 32 treatments. This is almost 1 acre. And this is, God, I'm drawing a blank now. This is Entrust rotated with Mustang Max. Why anybody wanted to do this option, but they did. Again, this is this new mode of action from a company. Here's Mustang Max. Here's Indigo, not registered. Here's Entrust. So this is kind of the industry standard. Here's Entrust. Jet Ag had activity. Here's a cell. Here's Cinerate. Here's seeds. These are organic products. Here is Spear T. Spear T is a conventional product. This is 2022. And I have no idea why I flipped it around. Before it was better it got worse as you went down. I sorted it differently. So I'm gonna have to change this around so my slides are consistent year to year. So there's the untreated check. What worked best? Spear T. Here's Siege. Here's Entrust. Spear T is a conventional product. Spear T is soft on beneficial. Spear T has 0-day PHI. It is exempt from MRLs. It is a conventional product. Spear T, Spear T, Spear T. Now there's a catch to Spear T. They have priced themselves out of the market. I'm not even going to tell you how much it costs. It's just priced out of the market. However, they're reformulating the product and it's supposed to cut the price in half. You'll notice here, unfortunately, well, this is 32 ounces, 2 gallon. Unfortunately, it's at 2 gallon, 1.5, 1. The 1 gallon rate. If they cut the price in half, 1 gallon rate becomes more affordable. But I would never use the 1 gallon rate. The 2 gallon rate works well. You see this Combat Protect plus Spear T. This is a feeding. This is a feeding stimulant, and we're trying to use a lower rate. Here's 28 ounces of Spear T with a feeding stimulant, so they will eat more of the product. Might be a way to get the price down. So we need some more work, but Spear T could be a product for you to use, exempt from MRLs. You can use it right before harvest, but it's an expensive product. So Spear T is very interesting. There's a new product coming from Syngenta, Cinerate Seeds, Gargoyle 2 or some organic products. Pay attention to MRLs. Got 4 minutes or so for questions. No, everybody just wants to leave. Someone asked me a question. They're not going to put the sign-up sheets out till someone asks me a question. What do you got?
The number of bugs down by half.
Okay. Don't worry about those numbers. Look at the relationship to how products work compared to the industry standard. This is a place where we have to wait till we have an infestation. You guys never want them to get started. You want to kill them before they get started. We have to let them get started, make sure we have a population. We also have untreated checks. We also have products that just turns out don't work. We have a population from hell. And so you can't say, well, I can never, that'd be unacceptable for us to have those kind of numbers. We have to have those kind of numbers as an artifact of doing this trial. The way you need to look at it is you need to say, well, in trust or this product, we know gives commercial level control, commercially acceptable level of control. And then you compare these other products to that product. If it is as good or as better as in trust or some of these other products, it should give commercially acceptable levels of control. That's the way you have to interpret this data. And I thank you for bringing that up. I should have mentioned that. Some of these numbers look scary high, but bear in mind, the numbers are totals over a 6-week period where we're sampling a lot. I know you guys can't have any number on that, but if it is equal to or better than something that gets commercially acceptable control, we assume it will give commercially acceptable levels of control. Another question? I adjourn this meeting.
Thank you all for coming. Pesticide credits in the back corner. Soon. Now.